framework of everything, so I decided to refer to many interesting documents and authors and to make to show my vision via their activities. So this is the title, and first we have to, because we are talking with primarily from about their sustainable development issues, the current road ends at the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. Just a very brief road how it could lead to the current situation. It begins, I promise you I don't go into the details, so this is a very short road. So it started nearly, actually 50 years ago, and now just next week I think there will be the 50th anniversary meetings in Stockholm. So 50 years ago, the first UN Environmental Conference took place in Stockholm, and all those things which are still today taken into consideration, and also they are also under development, because we cannot say that we accomplished all those goals and principles, started there. Then there was the Brundtland Commission report, big jump, with the definition which everybody, I think, who is here knows, that development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So this was the first message which took the future generations in the center of this whole sustainable development. Then we might talk about the Rio principles. It is written here, I don't want to read it. And the question is that it speaks about these future generations issues, also about the human rights concepts, which we could already hear from your rector. And then, in my mind, that was a very important study commissioned by the UN, the legal expert group, some years later in 1995, discussing what might be the legal content of sustainable development. And among others, they mentioned that the right to a healthy environment provides a focus to guide the integration of environment and development is sustainable where it advances or realizes the right to a healthy environment. And which I also like very much, it was the International Law Association's activity, which first in 2002 and then in 2012 reinforced in New Delhi, and in 2002 in Sofia. They could provide a list of principles and list of constituents to sustainable development or international law, and among others they refer to their opinion to the question that this sustainable development is a principle of international law and part of use organs. It was their message. I would like now to show three pictures or charts. One is, it is mostly used by the EU when preparing the 7th Environmental Action Programme. It was used there. This is about the green economy. Why do I use this first? Because there are those three well-known circles that ecosystem, economy, human, of course they originally that economy, environment and society, that was the original three things which are used everywhere to illustrate sustainable development, and what is in between, so where all these three meet, in theory that is sustainable development. I don't really like this because seemingly we have very limited options, because it is very, very small. course, we might push to get it together. Why it is green economy? Because in 2000, and it was the illustration used from the very beginning, but the content has been changed. This is an up-to-date content because it refers to human well-being or not environment but ecosystem, and they refer to resilience, but I don't want to go to that details. And it is also very important that they, as it was clearly mentioned in the opening speech of our rector, that we might not take that everything belongs to economy even if it's green. So there is a part of human well-being which is outside the interest of economy. And then everybody knows the 17 goals and 169 titles of the United Nations Sustainable Development System. And if we look at this chart, then we say, oh my God. So what shall we do with this? How can we come into an agreement? Which is more important, which is less important? Is it possible? I used to ask my students that, just imagine, can you run into 17 directions at the same time? Because if you can, then this is perfect, how it is presented. But of course it is not the case. And again, I have to refer back to the opening speech of our rector, who clearly mentioned creation and the ecosystem and nature at the center. And therefore I like better this next chart, which is the same with another organization. I think most of you know. This is, I have to tell, because it is a very polite thing to say that it is developed, it has been developed by the Stockholm Resilience Center. So this is their, how can I say, product, which I like it better than others. And those three big circles which were mentioned here, they are coming back, but in a different level. Probably before this chart, it was similarly mentioned with the concept of strong sustainability, because the green economies chart is rather supporting the weak sustainability question. So then there is the biosphere as the basis. So then society, and then economy, and then the institutions is at the bottom, at the top, which we are talking about. And the question is very clear. These 17 goals are not identical. So you have to make priorities. And what is the priority? Without a working biosphere, there is no way that the economy can survive, and no way that society can survive. And also, it is clearly representing that in practice, it is upside down. Because in practice, everybody knows that economy believes that society is only a group of consumers, and environment is used for the good profit. So it's all the other way around. But we have to understand that it is not the case. It does not work. And we can see that it does not work. I don't know how many of you will see this movie on the Netflix, that Don't Look Up. Yes? And you remember that what happened when finally the politics opened the door to the business to decide. It was the end of the world. And I think this is also a good message for our sustainable development field. What are the legal considerations which we have to take, which we have to look at? What is the core of sustainable development of a legal point of view? Of course, it's quite clear, the two generational equities, intergenerational and intragenerational equity multiplied with integration. This is quite clear. Everybody speaks about that. Besides, it is also generally accepted that the right of future generation plus the right to environment, then public participation is also there, the cooperation and cooperative instruments, it has also been mentioned before earlier. What integration really means, I just quote the, in September it is the 25th, we have anniversaries always. The 25th anniversary of the Babcsikó case in the International Court of Justice says that this need to reconcile economic development with protection of the environment is aptly expressed in the concept of sustainable development, so integration. Precautionary principle, which means scientific uncertainty, and which many still believe that it is a limit to innovation, which is absolutely not the case. Subsidiarity and good governance. So these are all those things which primarily belong to the legal considerations. Then let's also talk about something on the moral side. And now I also quote the documents of the Catholic Church. We are in a Catholic university. Please forgive me and allow me to be so on that side. More than 50 years ago, as you can see, in Populorum Progressio, it was mentioned that we are not just promoting human well-being, we are also furthering man's spiritual and moral development, and hence we are benefiting the whole human race. What is human race? I think it is not a question that human race covers the future generations at the same time. Then it is the 100th anniversary, another anniversary of the Rerum Novarum, that is the Centesimus Annus, and then as you can see, I don't quote everything, instead of carrying out his role, I mean, his role is our role, that means, as a cooperator with God in the work of creation, so humans, man set himself up in the place of God. So we really believe that we are God, and thus ends up provoking a rebellion on the part of nature, which is more terminalized than governed by him. Humanity today must be conscious of its duties and obligations, that is Benson Rector, towards future generations. The ecumenical patriarch and Saint John Paul II, whose portrait is over there, in Venice Declaration in 2002 together says that respect for creation stems from respect for human life and dignity. It was also we mentioned human dignity is may not be taken into consideration without these issues. We have not been entrusted with unlimited power over creation. We are only stewards of the common heritage. And then Benedict, Caritas in Veritate, when he underlines that the overemphasis of rights ends up as a question that we forget obligations. My favorite, again another quote, the way humanity treats the environment influences the way it treats itself and vice versa. So if we are not taking care of the environment, we are not taking care of ourselves and not taking care of our future generations. And finally, Laudato Si, Pope Francis, which is the only one environmental encyclical. All the others are just partly dealing with environmental issues. But again, simply stating, we are not God. Of course, humans do not like to understand this. Most of the people clearly believes that each and every individual is a God, but it does not work. And mutual responsibility, they are talking about common good, and the question is that simply to state, it's no longer enough then simply to state that we should be concerned for future generations. We need to see that what it is at stake, it is our dignity. So it's not, let's go about other research. So whether we should talk about the rights of our future generations, or duty of today. I just mentioned some authors, and because of the time is flying, I don't want to go too much into the details, but Professor Bándi, who is a German professor teaching in New Zealand, say that it's very clear that if you want to, because we had a meeting last time with these institutions who are dealing with future generations, and one of us says that, okay, we have to define what are the rights of future generations. You remember Shlomo was the guy, the only one Israeli and first Israeli Ombudsman in 2000 who received high powers even to stop legislation. No wonder that the whole office was ended by his term. Too much power is not necessarily useful. Okay, sorry. So we should not. Why should we try to define what are the roles of and the rights of the future? And then we have studies that what the future will demand. No, we have to limit ourselves. We must have our obligations, and Bosselman says that for principal reasons we are unable to determine the needs of future generations. And then I mentioned I go now to UN. Probably you know that 2013 there was a report of the Secretary General on this kind of future generation problems and the institutions which are available. And then it is very nice. Future generations are politically powerless, with the representation of their interests limited to the vicarious concern of present generations. So as we say that environment has no voice, future generations have no voice at all. And then the last moments, the director mentioned that there is a need to have the human right to environment, and as you know that in October last year, and the United Nations Human Rights Commission finally accepted that there must be a new right. And why? Because the right to environment, which is in absolutely strict cooperation with the future generations issues, because rights should cover the future generations too. They form a basis of all other human rights. So it's not something like that. It is one of the several others. It is absolutely different, right? It is the basis of all the others. Also, in his separate opinion, Berman 25 years ago mentioned the same. I might refer to the Hungarian Constitutional Court, that what are those issues which should be taken into consideration. The three options which should be given to the future generations. Why do I like it? Because it is practically, sorry to say, it's not the own words only of the Constitutional Court, but it has already been started by Edith Weiss in 1991, when she wrote about the same. So option of choice, the living conditions might be best guaranteed if we offer them the option of choice, preserving the quality, to give them the quality of the environment at least as we have. In brackets, it does not work, because it's impossible. But it is just a dream, I know, because we still destroyed the environment while in the last some decades, and it is not possible. But we should do what we can. And access to natural resources. Going back to UN Secretary General, what are those possibilities for duties? That as we cannot with great certainty ascertain the precise needs and preferences of future generations, we could, in devising policies at the very least, begin with two considerations: minimizing harm and doing that which benefits both present and future generations. The next UN Secretary General, this is on common agenda. It is from last year, in 2000, and I forgot to put the date. Accounting for interests of future generations would require two adaptations: strengthening our capacities, that's what we are talking about, to understand and access the future, and building long-term thinking into important policies and decision making. What the Hungarian Constitutional Court said, there is a primary goal of the state, because it is the state who can design the rights and duties. It is the state task and responsibility and honor to do that. So referring to the Hungarian fundamental law, again, I don't want to go to the details. Some legal and institutional assistance or aid is needed. They say in 2000, the UN Secretary General said that high-level statements, human rights message is needed. Then Hungarian Constitution, and which, again, I come back to the Secretary General, but first I would like to mention again the Constitutional Court vision, which I like it very much, that it is a heritage of future generations, again, which it has already been mentioned, that it is a principal heritage of them, and there are several issues which have to be taken into consideration, like our retrogression principle, and then the new, one of the most recent decisions, they say we have to use the public trust doctrine, so that the VR, the environment is given us as a trustee. So we are the trustees of this public trust. And then, again, UN Secretary General says that future generations are unrepresented in today's decision making and unable to articulate their needs. That is important. How to translate this? Consideration should be given to forums to act on this behalf as their trustees, as well as instruments to further protect their interests. And I go back to the Catholic Church, the Redemptor Hominis, Pope John Paul II. Nor is there any doubt in the book of Genesis and elsewhere in the Old Testament that the responsible guardian in question is all mankind, along with all generations and clans. So that is the last word of mine, not mine, but the Pope, and therefore it is good. So thank you very much for your